just listen. But for the rest of the prayer, the qunut, the takbirs, the ruku, you would do it as well. You do it on your own. So with the qunut, try to recite along with the dua that I'm sure all of you are familiar with. Inshallah, we'll begin just now. And afterwards, there'll be two qunut.
Am I in the camera? Dude, we got like it looks like I got cancer, bro.
الصلاة صلاة العيد إن شاء الله.
Where's the sajda gun?
Oh, it's right over there. Just pray them, man.
Right here.
Or is it she? Okay. We're just gonna leave it like this.
الله أكبر تكبيرة الإحرام.
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسره لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة، نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد، وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون، ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون.
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة، نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد، وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون، ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون.
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة، نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد، وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون، ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. الله أكبر بحول الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. الله
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمى وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
اللهم أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
أهل الكبرياء والعظمة وأهل الجود والجبروت وأهل العفو والرحمة وأهل التقوى والمغفرة نسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا ولمحمد صلى الله عليه وآله ذخرا وشرفا وكرامة ومزيدا أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تدخلنا في كل خير أدخلت فيه محمدا وآل محمد، وأن تخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمدا وآل محمد، صلواتك عليه وعليهم. اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك به عبادك الصالحون، ونعوذ بك مما استعاذ منه عبادك المخلصون. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله.
لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي، يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله.
والله أكبر. الله أكبر. ولله الحمد.
ولله الحمد.
الله أكبر على ما هدانا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور، ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. نحمده ونسبحه ونتوب إليه ونصلي ونسلم على حبيبه ونجيبه وخيرته في خلقه سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى آله الأطيبين الطاهرين المنتجبين الهداة المهديين المعصومين، سيما بقية الله في الأرضين. Brothers and sisters, we gathered here for the Salat al-Eid. On this first khutbah, I begin by acknowledging that all praise is due to Allah, and our gratitude and thankfulness is to Him for allowing us to serve Him during the month of Ramadan and to come to Him on this day of Eid, this day of celebration, to worship Him and to remember Him. I wanted to speak briefly in this first khutbah about the purpose behind the Eid and the celebration of Eid and the purpose behind our fasting and looking forward to, inshallah, the coming year. Inshallah, I don't wish to take too much time. I know that we have busy schedules. But just as a reminder, inshallah, for all of us to benefit. Sometimes when it comes to the day of Eid, there's a misconception that we're celebrating the permission to be able to eat. And that's the sum total of the purpose and the philosophy behind the Eid. And of course, we do celebrate the fact that when Allah commands us not to eat, then we don't eat. When He commands us to eat, then we eat. And so this is the day of Fitr. It's the day of fast breaking. And it is a day in which it is haram and forbidden to keep a fast. And so therefore we're commanded to break our fast on such a day. But the philosophy behind this day is much more than just the ability to eat some food. There was once a man who went to visit our master Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam on the day of Eid. And when he goes and looks at the way he's dressed and what he's eating, he's in shock. Because he's wearing the clothes of somebody who is of the lowest strata of the stratus of the society, and he's eating the food of the poorest of the people, a very simple type of food. And he asks Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's the day of Eid and you're eating this type of food. Maybe he's thinking that, where's the kebabs, where's the shawarma, where's the zinger burger, right? Like these are things that he's thinking maybe this is what he should be eating. And Imam Ali alayhi salam says that إِنَّمَا هُوَ عِيدٌ لِمَنْ غُفِرَ لَهُ, that this is the day of Eid for the one who has been forgiven from their sins. What is it that Imam alayhi salam is telling us? Is he telling us that we shouldn't eat the zinger burger, we shouldn't celebrate, we shouldn't enjoy? Maybe he's calling us to a deeper understanding of what is it that we're trying to commemorate here. Why are we celebrating? What are we celebrating here? And this is where we go back and look at the Quran. You see, in Western culture, when somebody does something, they accomplish something, you praise them, you pat them on their back, you give them a round of applause, and you say, good job. You did a great job. You're great. Somebody wins a race, good job. They win the championships, give them a medal, give them a trophy. Great work. But in Islamic understanding, in the Quranic understanding, there's a deeper philosophy behind how to celebrate success. So what we're here to do this day is that we're celebrating success, but from an Islamic perspective. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, the believers here around the world, this month was a month of struggle. It was a month of striving. It was a month of putting forth effort to show what we truly stand for, who we truly are, asserting our true identity. Many here and elsewhere, they really struggled to be able to manage all the different obligations during this month. Their personal obligations, their fasting, taking care of their families, their young ones, their elders, managing to change their schedule to be able to accommodate the different sort of activities that they would like to do so that this month of Ramadan will not go in waste. And for all these, we definitely have reason for celebrating success. But how do we celebrate success? When we go to the Quran, we see that whenever the great prophets would celebrate success, they would do so in a particular way. When, for example, Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam and Nabi Ismail, when they celebrate the success of building the Kaaba, what do? وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ قَوَاعِدَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. They didn't celebrate by clapping each other on the back and cheering each other on and saying good job, but rather they turned to Allah and they constantly were asking Allah, "Oh Allah, oh our Lord, تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا, accept this from us. You are the one who is the most seeing and the one who is the most knowing." When Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, when he accomplishes this great success of gathering the different creatures on the earth and putting them in the ship and building that ship and then sailing in the ocean and finally being able to survive the flood, finally, Allah tells him, فَإِذَا اسْتَوَيْتَ أَنْتَ وَمَنْ مَعَكَ عَلَى الْفُلْكِ فَقُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي نَجَّانَا مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. O Nuh, when you and those who are with you, when you successfully are able to alight on the ground and your ship is able to finally put its anchor down, then you should engage in being grateful to Allah. Acknowledge that all that success is for Him. Alhamdulillah alladhi najjana. All praise belongs to Allah who saved us and delivered us from the oppressed people. So the Islamic notion of celebration is one where we truly acknowledge that how is it that we were able to serve God in the way that we did? All of it comes from Him. That ability, that knowledge, that power, that motivation, that determination, that persistence, all of it came from Him. And it's like this today is an acknowledgement, and that's why we keep on repeating Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, as a reminder of where all things is due. But it's not just that, because there's something else that Islam teaches us. That when somebody is able to perform their acts of servitude for the sake of God, then they become people who are noble. They become people who have honor, people who have dignity. We live in a world where unfortunately too many people, they go around and they feel like they're in a state of shame. They don't have any sense of dignity. They're looking around and they're saying that, who am I? I'm nothing. But Islam teaches us that no, you are somebody who is inherently dignified. And when you perform these acts of worship, it only increases in your dignity. What do we just pray for 9 times in the salah? We said that this is that day, O Allah, in which you increase the honor and the prestige and the dignity. The dignity of whom? The dignity of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. And when we pray for the increase in dignity of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, then we're also praying for the increase in dignity of those who follow the path of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, which is the path of serving Allah Ta'ala. Now, throughout this process of the month of Ramadan, what has happened to us? And how do we go forward from here? You know, there's a beautiful analogy that's given to us in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala speaks about the contrast of the fertile land with that land which is infertile. He says, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. He says that on one hand, sometimes you have fertile soil. You plant something in there, and what's going to happen? It's going to grow, and it's going to be amazing. You'll have the best flowers. You have the most luscious trees. You'll have this pretty foliage. Everything will be perfect. On the other hand, you have some other type of soil which doesn't grow anything. It just grows very little, and what the crop is very limited. And that's an analogy that we can take when it comes to what happened in the month of Ramadan. You see, throughout the year, unfortunately, sometimes we transgress, we make mistakes, we don't treat ourselves and our souls the way we ought to. And so what happens is that soil, which is our soul, it becomes corrupt. It becomes like that infertile soil. It can't grow anything. And we feel dead. We feel like nothing's happening. There's no spirituality. There's no sense of closeness to Allah. You know, brothers and sisters, how long it takes to replenish soil once it gets destroyed? You know, when they take fertilizer and they just throw tons of fertilizer on the soil, they take their big tractors through the soil. They don't do the proper practices of rotating the soil. They don't use the farm animals. They just try to make the most of it. You know how long it takes to restore that soil? They say it takes 100 years to grow an inch of topsoil. That soil which really is good at growing nice crops. 100 years. We don't have 100 years. And sometimes if I look at myself and what I might be doing to my soul, it's more damage than what all those tractors and fertilizers and stuff are doing to the soil. But Allah in His mercy gives us this month, and in that month He gives us that one night, which is worth more than a lifetime. So we hope that as we're coming out of this month, it's like as if that process has taken place. that infertile soil has been taken away, and what we have now is fertile ground. You know how it feels right now as you stand remembering Allah, that feeling of joy, that feeling of asserting your identity. This is who you are. Now the question is that what are you going to plant in that soil? What kind of crops are you going to grow? Because those crops, those flowers, those trees are going to be the trees of your paradise. That's why we're told that on this day of Eid, when you come to the prayers, think about that day when you will be raised from your graves and you will all be coming together. What crop will you have to show at that time? What beauty will you have to show that you have adorned your soul with? So that's why we have to be thinking on this day of going forward, what are we going to do with that fertile soil? God forbid that God gave us that opportunity and we didn't do anything with it. We went back to our old habits. Ramadan should have taught us the need for discipline. It should have taught us the need for constant worship. It should have taught us the need for community as well. Because one thing we're told is that in the hereafter, that garden that inshallah is the garden of our soul, it's not something which is our personal garden. It's something which is linked to every other being. In one beautiful hadith, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says that one time he met one of the companions and he told him that, you know, in Jannah there is not a single home, nor a single palace, nor any gathering of people in Jannah, except that there will be a branch of the same tree in each one of those homes, each one of those palaces, in each one of those gatherings. And then he tells the companion, he says that, do you know where the root of that tree is? He says, the root of that tree is in my home. So you see that in paradise even, you know, this idea of the soil, it's something which every believer is linked together. And the source of it is the Prophet. Then he, later on, a few days later, he meets the same companion. He tells him, do you know that in paradise, there will not be a single home or a palace, there will be a branch of the same tree? And then he says, do you know where the root of that tree is? He says, the root of that tree will be in the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. The companion asks him, he says, Ya Rasulullah, a few days ago you told me that the root of that tree would be in your house. And now you're telling me that the root of that tree is in the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Can you please reconcile this for me? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, he says, do you not know that in paradise, my house and the house of Ali will be the same house? So, brothers and sisters, community is very important. We're all linked by the same garden. And the source of that garden is the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Here, we gather together, we're told on the day of Eid, you gather together as a community. And one of the things that we've celebrated in this month is the importance of our community. May Allah reward all of you for participating in the community gatherings. May Allah reward all of you who put forth effort to volunteer in so many different ways, whether it be serving, whether it be cooking, whether it be cleaning, whether it be providing security, whether it be providing IT, logistics, so many other things that we don't even see. May Allah reward all of you. Truly, we see this beautiful spirit during the month of Ramadan of people coming together. And as we go forward, and we're thinking about what we're gonna plant in our soil, definitely we should be thinking about this, that how can I make community be part of what I do on a regular basis? And this is where I just want to make one comment. You know, on days like these, we see people who maybe we don't see that often. They make it to Sabah maybe just a couple of times in the year. Sometimes people come and for whatever reason, they don't have a positive experience. Maybe they felt like they weren't treated well by a volunteer, or they felt they were excluded by the congregation. Brothers and sisters, this is a day for forgiveness. You know, we're told in a hadith that you should find 70 ways of finding an excuse for your brothers and sisters. This community is your community, and we welcome every single person to this community. Inshallah, you can be thinking about how you can be part of this community. You know, here, besides normal, regular activities like prayers, like Thursday night programs, there are many other things that go on. There's a full-time school where our children and youth are able to be part of an environment which is built on Islamic values. And you know, it's amazing to be part of that effort where we try to help our youth, and they're with us every day, 5 days a week. There's Sunday school. There are many charity efforts.
There's literacy efforts. There's prison work that goes on. There are efforts to build a university. There's so many things that I can't even keep them all in mind in terms of different projects that are going on. Brothers and sisters, find a way that you can contribute. Find a way that you can be part of the community as well. And this is something that, inshallah, will be a benefit to you as we're thinking about the year going forward. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وصل على أئمة المسلمين وحماة المستضعفين أمير المؤمنين والسيدة نساء العالمين والحسن والحسين سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى وعلي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك. Brothers and sisters, as we close out the Salatul Eid and the second khutbah, I would like to remind myself and all of you of the importance of having taqwa of Allah. We cannot help but on this day of Eid to pause and to think about the condition of those who are around the world, those who are suffering. I was reading an article about Muslims in Afghanistan and how this month of Ramadan, the main thing that they're occupied with is their hunger. They say that more than 90% of them don't have enough food to eat. And I was just imagining the condition of the people in Yemen and what kind of Eid are they celebrating. Imagine the condition of the people in Palestine. What kind of Eid are they celebrating? Imagine the condition of those young women in India who this is the time where they should be taking their final exams, but they are not allowed to do so because they would like to be able to take their exams while observing the hijab, but they are prevented to do so by the state. And in many other places in this world where people are really struggling. On this day, we have to make sure to include them in our du'as. We have to pray for all those people who are oppressed. And finally, on this day, but last but not least, is that this is the day where we have to really turn to Allah and complain to Him, present our complaint to Him about the absence and the disconnect that we have from the Imam of our time. Allahumma inna ilayka faqda nabiyyina salawatuka alayhi wa alihi wa ghaybata waliyina wa kathrata aduwina wa qillata adadina wa shiddata al-fitanina wa tadahur al-zamani alayna. O Allah, we ask you on this day of our Eid to forgive us for our sins, to accept our month of Ramadan for us. We ask you to forgive our parents and all the believers. O Allah, we ask you to send your comfort and your mercy upon all the marhumin and the marhumat of this gathering and all the marhumin and marhumat. Allah, we ask you to hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. O Allah, we ask you for the strength and the opportunity to have a strong community that is constantly striving to improve itself, that is striving to establish justice and to pave the way for the coming of the Imam. O Allah, we ask you to protect and preserve all those who are serving the cause of truth and Islam and justice, especially the Maraja, especially the Islamic leadership. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا سبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. الحسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين